Today we're talking about selecting images or culling out bad images, I guess. I've seen it kind of done. I guess I'll walk through kind of what I do. I've also seen it done the opposite way, where you select all of the images, and if you don't want them, you press a number and you unselect them based on if you don't want the image. I do it kind of the opposite way, where I'm selecting only the images that I want. I use a program called Photo Mechanic. Photo Mechanic is like the fastest thing in the world, I think, for this. So like when you're scrolling through, these are all the raw files or the JPEG previews of the raw files loading. But as you can see, one, you can see that I'm always on that 5% slant, and two, just how fast all the images do load. And I think that this is by far the fastest program for this section of the day. And just if you stop this video and you just go get Photo Mechanic right now, you're probably going to save yourself quite a lot of time. It also does a lot of other helpful things when you're working with multiple cameras, that you can select just like what images you want and then time shift them up here in Tools by adjusting date and capture time. It does a lot more than all of this, but those are really the only things that I use, unfortunately. If you are selecting images in Lightroom, know that it's Lightroom actually has gotten a lot faster in recent versions, I guess, but it's still in comparison to Photo Mechanic and the way like the speed that files load, there really is no comparison, I don't believe. If you are using Lightroom, I think the most efficient way to do it is to build a gallery of smart previews so that all of the files are kind of like loaded internally already, and then disconnect whatever drive they're actually hosted on and let it just only go from the smart previews and not even reference the files. I find that speeds Lightroom up a little bit as far as just for the selecting of the images, but Photo Mechanic, hands down, by far the best. So my process, I'm not going to run you through like culling the entire wedding because that would not be the most fun video for you to watch. But as you can see from my cards, I've selected 706 images down here, and Tim's cards over here, let's see, 230. So it's definitely a high. It's almost like 1,000 images, which is on the higher end of what I do ever deliver. But it was a longer day, and I think that it's totally reasonable to deliver this many images. I'll just kind of run you through, so I'll go back to being able to see everything. And basically, for a quick Photo Mechanic demo, if you're not familiar with it, you have all your labels down here. So any of the red ones were the ones that I actually put in this full-length wedding video. And then any of these ones are actually ones that I delivered. I also deliver the red ones, but there's lots of fancy things you can do with labels because you can... you get it. You're a smart person. So I'll run through kind of the ceremony. These are all just the JPEG straight into my camera. And as you can see, I do take quite a lot of photos. Also, this banner really trying to ruin my life this day. And as I'm going through, I'm really looking for one or two photos of non-key elements. So for instance, everyone coming down the aisle here, I won't really select too many of those images, but I will give them a few versions of the groom and his mom coming down the aisle, just because I know that they're going to want the perfect image of that, and the perfect image to Johnny might not be the perfect image to his mom, and they're going to want kind of different samples of that. As you can see, I'm also always kind of like shooting candids of people while also documenting the moment that's kind of going on in front of me. And if I can give you one really big tip with this section of the day, it is to select anything that really does kind of just strike you as like, that's a good image. It's much easier to select everything rather than be like, oh, is this photo better? Or maybe not that one. Is this photo better? Or is this photo better? Which one or this one? Just pick whatever one kind of immediately strikes you. For instance, with me, I know that I don't want this banner and I'm going to have to crop this image. Also, people kind of looking all over the place over here and all over the place here. So I want this image just a little bit tighter, even though there is a handy cam screen off to the side here. And just kind of rolling through that way and just trying to do it as fast as possible. It's something that you will get faster and faster and faster at. It's taken me, I'm going to say it was like a 2-year period of shooting weddings and selecting images before I think I got up to kind of whatever the maximum speed that I've kind of retained at. And it really is just about figuring out how you shoot. That like you actually selecting your own images is going to be way faster than if you ever do outsource it, just because you know kind of the way that you shoot and you know what's good. And I really do just do a high level select of everything that I think is good, everything that is necessary to tell the story of the wedding day. And then when I bring everything into Lightroom, I go over it again and I look a little bit more closely at things. The other thing that I do that does speed up efficiency is When I am culling, I cull from my cards first, so I go through everything that I know that I shot and I select what I need. And then when I'm going through my second photographer's cards, Tim in this case, I know what moments I either wasn't there for, or that I missed, or that I could use a second angle on. And I go through those photos a lot faster. And for instance, like when I'm culling, it's basically at a speed kind of like this. And I know that for the most part, like everything is going to be mostly in focus. And if it's not, I'm not going to like, you can do the zoom in and make sure everything's like 100% here. I'm not really going that critically into it because I don't mind delivering like a mildly soft image from time to time if needed. But if you have a big monitor, maybe that's the other tip is that I have this. So all of my processing is done on this MacBook Pro, but I have this iMac up here that's a bigger screen so that I'm actually able to see everything with more detail. I really love the Mac monitors because they're very, very accurate color-wise to when I print. Not that many people print anymore, but it is a lot more accurate, I guess, to cell phones, which is maybe more important than being accurate to a printer now. We also have this like giant Samsung that's over this way, and the color balance on it, even when calibrated, I never 100% trust it, but I do trust Mac products out of the box. That's it. I think the big takeaway from this, it's a shorter video, but I think the big takeaway is to go and get Photo Mechanic if you don't yet have it. I think it's a 30-day trial that you can sign up for, and it's really the most powerful tool when it comes to actually culling and selecting images, and it does help me go a lot faster since everything just loads as fast as possible. You don't need to wait and for those couple seconds for the image to come into focus when you're editing in Lightroom, scrolling from image to image. And also it's just like, it's a lot cleaner of a platform. I find Lightroom just in general is just like kind of clunky and really processor intensive. Whereas this is just loading straight from the JPEG that's embedded into your RAW file. That's all for today. I will see you tomorrow. We're going to actually go into Lightroom and start editing some photos.